this view. Oh my word. Our accommodations at a farm stay in Merlot, Italy were out of this world. It used to be an old olive oil business. This beautiful, stately manor has now turned into an agriturismo. Located on the ground floor, which is where our apartment was of the manor house, it was actually had an old olive urn encased in the corner of the bedroom, and it dates back to 1700. The restored ceilings retained the exposed beams. The antique ceramic floors were typical of the luxury decor of that era. The kitchen that we had was really full of everything that you needed, and it was a spectacular place to stay. I'll leave a link in the description box below in case you'd like to check it out. After settling in, we decided we were hungry, so our host Eloise gave us directions to a local Carrefour, or small supermarket in a square or plaza. It was located in Monteroni, which was only about a 10-minute drive away, so off we went. The views, as you can see along the way, were spectacular. We purchased some delicious food at the grocery store, and then Philip was amazed at the grocery carts. As you can see, they are made much more sensibly than the ones we have in the U.S. I wish someone would take them up and try them over where we live as well. We purchased quite a bit of food from the grocery store, and the deli had the most delicious food ever. Their pizzas were also amazing, and we went back there several times to get them. So we enjoyed our dinner in our little kitchen, and we also got to see Ben and Erin from hometown. After dinner, we ventured out into the foyer of our little apartment, which also had another apartment across the hall, and then upstairs were a couple of other apartments. As you can see, too, the decor was beautiful, and these doors were so gorgeous. It's already cooling off nicely. We took a walk around the grounds and decided to check out all the various fruit trees and things. The views were spectacular. Yeah. What is that up there? What is that? The grounds were so beautiful. Walking up the steps, we were greeted with the most spectacular pool and lounging area. I wish we had more time to spend there, but we were gone so much during the day we did not get to enjoy it as much as I would have liked to, but wow, it was amazing. Infinity pool. They have preserved this 100-year-old wisteria canopy that you could walk through. It actually led to their apartment, but wow. Kitty, 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 kitty. Kitty. The next morning we set out to go to our first Tuscan village to visit, and that was Montalcino. I was driving because Philip was not a fan of the drivers in Italy. They didn't bother me really though. Montalcino is a beautiful Tuscan village to visit with unending views. Wow. How is this for a table with a view? Wow. Burrata cheese. Several movies have been made in Montalcino, but it's a wonderful place to stroll around and look at all the cafes, arts and crafts shops, and check out the amazing, stunning views from this medieval town. No. We stopped in the middle of a plaza that had unending views, and I tried to get a 360 so you could just get a feel for how gorgeous this place is. After Montalcino, we jumped in the car and headed on our next destination, the hot springs of Bagni San Filippo. Tuscany has a lot of hot water springs, with Saturnia being one of the most popular. But we decided to visit these hot springs. They were close by, and boy, were they gorgeous. You'll be able to see that in the next photos. As you make your way down, there's an easy path that runs along the river and provides easy access. This is one of those areas they're trying to keep a secret, but we found it. Access to these hot springs used to be completely free, but we actually found that when we arrived they had a tent set up, but it was only a couple of euro to go in. Further into the woods, you reach the massive formation of calcium and waterfall that has earned the nickname of the White Well, or Fosso Bianco. Here, the hot water of the springs meets the cold water of the river, giving the water a white-blue color. It's just a beautiful, fascinating setting. The next day, we made our way to Arezzo. Located in southeastern Tuscany, it sits high on a hilltop at the crossroads of the four valleys. Arezzo boasts a wide range of sights to see, including fortresses, monuments, churches, and museums. They offer a chance for visitors to step back into history. For some reason, Arezzo has not usually included on the main itineraries of Tuscany, but we found it to be quite interesting. We made our way to a large courtyard that had amazing views and had to stop and soak it all in for a little bit. The sights on the way back to our agriturismo were amazing, as everywhere you look and turn is in Tuscany. We headed back, getting ready for our next adventure. The sun was shining brightly the next day as we made our way to one of the places I was looking very forward to visiting, and that is San Gimignano. San Gimignano did not disappoint. Just before we even made it inside the city walls, the views on the outside were so spectacular. It sits up really high, so the views go on for days. San Gimignano is the epitome of a Tuscan hill town. It's only about 25 miles from both Florence and Siena. It's beloved because of its skyline of medieval towers. It's very unique, and the pointy skylines were the norm in Tuscany in the Middle Ages. San Gimignano has lots of shopping, delicious restaurants, and just about anything you are looking for, but it's also very crowded. If you have an opportunity to stay there so you can enjoy it after hours, I would say that would be the best time. I did not know, but San Gimignano and the area is known for producing some of the best saffron in Italy. I also found some amazing leather handbags while I was there. You should do some shopping for sure. I'm obviously an amateur, but if you are good at photography, you could sure find some beautiful shots in this little town. Our last night in Tuscany, our generous and sweet host Eloise fixed us a delicious Tuscan meal right out on our brick patio outside the apartment. It was one of the highlights of our trip for sure. It was delicious. I woke up early the next morning before we left. I wanted to get some last-minute views of our beautiful accommodations, and I was able to capture the most amazing sunrise. I don't think it gets any better. Turned in our rental car in Siena and hopped the train. It actually took us back to Florence and put us on the fast train to Rome, which is where our last stop in Italy was on this trip. It was a really fast train. It got up to 150 miles an hour. We made it to Rome and grabbed a taxi outside the train station. I must say, it was one of the most interesting taxi rides I've ever had. He took us to Ostia Antica, which is where our last stay was. We soaked in the views of Rome along the way in the taxi ride. So we got to see a lot of places in Rome we normally would not have seen. As I said, the taxi ride was interesting. Our driver didn't really know how to get to Ostia Antica, so it was dark by the time we got there. Anyway, our accommodations, though, were worth the wait. They were so awesome. The Airbnb was behind the castle walls, which was quite interesting, and outside there was a plaza that had several restaurants, which we took advantage of, and then we walked around for the night. It was really beautiful, and we ended up having a great dinner out on the plaza. The next morning, we hopped the local train that took about 30 minutes to get us into Rome, where we made our way to the Colosseum, which was one of the highlights for me. We were there about 2 more days. There is so much to see and do, of course, at the Colosseum grounds because you also have the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill, and I do suggest that you buy your tickets early and your time because the lines were extremely long and it was very hot. But oh my gosh, it was so worth it. The Colosseum was built during the reign of the Flavian emperors as a gift to the Roman people. To see and think about the history that went on behind these walls is just almost more than you can even take in. There is so much to see. We could have probably stayed there more than what we did, but it was very, very crowded and it was hot, so we saw as much as we could. The Colosseum is one of the new 7 wonders of the world, and after nearly a decade of construction, which is a pretty quick period of time for a project so large, Titus officially dedicated the Colosseum in AD 80 with a festival including 100 days of games. One of the most common questions travelers ask is, what was the Colosseum used for? Gladiators fought one another at the Colosseum, and people came to watch these fights, kind of like people watch a major sporting event today. One of the more well-known facts is that many of the gladiators were slaves, but they did not always fight to the death. Usually they ended when one gladiator was too injured to continue, so not everyone lost their life when fighting. You can actually buy tickets to tour the underground section of the Colosseum. They added this at a later date, and actually gladiators and wild animals stayed in this bi-level underground section of the arena before fights. Next, we headed to the Roman Forum. It was located at the center of the ancient city of Rome and the location of important religious, political, and social activities. Historians believe they first started meeting publicly in the open-air forum around 500 BC when the Roman Republic was founded. Although wrecked by earthquake, weathering, pollution, and centuries of architects robbing it of its stones and columns, the Roman Forum remains one of the most impressive sights, surviving from antiquity and a unique window into the once great glorious world that was Rome. Palatine Hill is a 4-sided plateau rising 131 feet south of the Forum in Rome. The city of Rome was founded on the Palatine, where archaeological discoveries range from prehistoric remains to the ruins of imperial palaces. It's quite majestic. This is how you drink out of the water fountains in Rome. Fresh cold water. We left the Colosseum area and headed back into the city of Rome, where we were fortunate enough to see a military band performing in the streets. We took in our last night in Rome at an outdoor cafe, enjoying our last homemade Italian pizza and drinks. It was so nice. We really did not want to leave. It was such a glorious vacation. We woke very early the next morning to catch a taxi to go to the airport. It was sad to leave. Arrivederci, Italy, until we meet again.